Sup nerds, in today's video I'm gonna build the last of our 3 custom GPTs that we're gonna use to write some novels. As you can see over here, we've already got one to brainstorm and one to write our first draft, and now we're gonna build one to revise. We've got our 6 prompts for better custom GPTs right here, ready to go. So before we get into it, if you're interested in mastering AI or having me build a custom automation for your business, feel free to hit the link below and set up a one-on-one call with me to discover the possibilities. So let's get dangerous. Alright, to start us off, we've got prompt 1. We're gonna create the best custom GPT ever made. We don't really care about the primary user. Its task is to revise the first draft of novels for various target audiences written in various genres. We don't really care about what its target audience is, since that's gonna be kind of baked into it already. Research the greatest people in the world who have done this task in this or similar contexts and describe their methods in great detail. Okay, now specifically, because we are compartmentalizing the task of writing novels, I want it to be very specific about which experts. It can't just be someone who's good at brainstorming novels, because we've already done all the conceptual stuff with the brainstorming agent, and we've also already done all the translation to the page stuff with the first draft agent. This time we want to focus on what really gets in the weeds. So let's go ahead and add a little bit here. Already did. So now we want to target. We already did the conceptual work with the brainstorming custom GPT and the first draft work with the first draft custom GPT. So now we want to target experts specifically in revising, seasoned toward from the developmental editing process to line editing and everything in between. Yeah, honestly that should work, because like everything else that I want to be custom built into this GPT is more procedural or more to do with the output guardrails. That's all stuff that we're going to get to later. This is kind of just warming up, so we're looking at things from a 10,000 foot view and not so much in the nitty gritty. So I think we're okay to just go ahead and run this and see what it does. Okay, it's listing out the sources. That's good. It usually doesn't do that until it's just about done. I know you guys don't like see the delay because like video editing exists, but it's been doing this for a couple of minutes now, which I mean, I like that it's working this hard on it. GitHub article, Gordon Lish. This thing is in depth. You guys should, if you guys ever try watching your like AI think in real time, it's kind of fun. Yeah, look at that, thought for 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Incredible. Awesome. Let's build your world-class reviser on the shoulders of the best editors and revision thinkers. Okay, and for each one it shows signature moves, fierce advocacy for the author's cultural authenticity. That's good. Questions that surface a work's moral center rather than imposing one. Structural clarity in service of voice. Solstein triage revision. Don't start on page 1. Treat the biggest wounds first. I like that. I don't really know how that's going to translate to our custom GPT build, since for the most part it's only going to see an entire chapter's worth of text at a time. So in theory, if it could take this sort of developmental editing standpoint of treating the biggest wounds first, I think it would have to see some kind of a summary of the novel, like the entire thing condensed to fit into the context window of the AI. I mean, models are starting to be big enough that it can process a book or even a couple of books at once, but you still have to do weird things in order to access those bigger context windows, like a message ChatGPT 4.1 via API, for example, is kind of weird, but copy editing and consistency. Children's YA perspective. I like that it gave us an audience-specific one. Nice. Adjacent time-tested revision case study. Ooh. Excision of dead matter. I think that's the main thing that holds a lot of novels back, especially AI-assisted ones, is that there's a lot of fluff and things that don't really serve its core message to the reader. That does plague a lot of human authors as well, and I really appreciate that it thinks of this, because that's one of the telltale signs of someone who really knows what they're doing. So I like this. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the second prompt. Okay, now this prompt is specifically for developing a sort of thought process that the custom GPT is going to use as kind of a backbone. This is really important for guaranteeing the quality of its responses, for the simple reason that when you ask a base model of ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, and you give it a certain task, but don't outline the steps that it should take to do it, it's going to make up steps as it goes. And that introduces a lot of chaos in the quality of the results, specifically chaos that we don't want. We would get higher quality, more consistent quality results by simply standardizing the thought process. Now, by default, this prompt is designed such that it can follow this kind of 10,000 foot view brainstorming prompt. And, ChatGPT will kind of just know what it should do, but I want to give it some custom instructions this time around. The output guardrail should be in plain text for each part you're game. I said for each area of the critique. Now we're just gonna do include a % score for each area of the critique and overall, for each area of the critique and overall, as well as a 5-step action plan targeting the most precise improvements with the highest ROI. Include specific examples from the original text whenever possible. Step 2 should instruct the custom GPT to forget everything about all prior drafts. Okay, most of that comes from my own past experience using ChatGPT regularly as an advisor. It's very, very good at revising. I think its main problem and the main thing that I want to fix when I'm using this GPT is that it forgets everything about previous drafts. A lot of times, if you say you give it a first draft of something and ask it to critique it, it'll give you good feedback. If you go to the same chat and you give it the new draft and say, hey, I made those changes, can you look at it? It'll give you better percentage points, but its analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of the writing will oftentimes just echo the last thing it said, whether that was a problem you genuinely fixed or not. So it needs to be able to know what to forget, not what to remember, which is, the main thing that OpenAI and the LLM companies that build these things are worried about. In this case, we actually want it to get better at forgetting. But with that being said, let's go ahead and run this prompt. And while it's thinking about that, we are going to go ahead and grab this next prompt. This is our LLM limitation defense clause. Basically, no matter what else you do to make your custom GPTs better, they will always be subject to the weaknesses that are baked into LLMs, which is that they can hallucinate. That can be especially a problem when you're trying to be fact accurate about science or about your depiction of different cultures or minorities. They can be over verbose, or sometimes they can somehow be both at once. I haven't really figured out why, but that is a thing that they can do, especially when we're considering something like stereotypes. So we want it to avoid those, and also being confidently inaccurate. Again, with when we're trying to depict something where we actually want to be factual, science, or depicting minorities or things like that. So let's go ahead and run that. Now for our next prompt, we want input and output guardrails. Very, very simple. We just want to put a quality check on what the human sends to the AI, which is input guardrails, and then another quality check on what the AI sends to the human, which is output guardrails. That's going to be our number one signal that creates true excellence in the results of our custom GPT. So let's go ahead and drop it in. Do you guys like how autopilot this is? This is awesome. Now the knowledge base blueprint, this is where things get really cool, because when you're building a custom GPT, you'll have a knowledge base, kind of an area where you can upload PDFs or spreadsheets or different files you kind of want it to pull from in order to do its job better. This is what's going to set apart expert GPTs from ones that just know the general chat GPT stuff. Now, most people, when they try building a knowledge base, they kind of just chuck PDFs into it randomly. That just creates this big, unorganized, chaotic thing that your custom GPT can't actually use all that well. So what this prompt is designed to do is actually look at all the publicly available data, and then it grades it all on 4 different criteria: density, accuracy, necessity, and structure. And using those 4 things, we are going to figure out which ones are going to be the absolute. We're also considering custom files when we do this, and for those it's going to give us instructions on how to create those files, so we're not going to be up a creek without a paddle. In any case, let's go ahead and run it. Now this is going to be our 6th and final prompt when we put together everything we've just built into a single system prompt for our custom GPT, which is awesome because that's going to be like 90% of our custom GPT. There's other stuff you can do when you are building it, and I'll show you how those work, but the system prompt is going to be most of it, so you know, we're pretty much going to have that part done. Okay, let's have a look at this. Below is a surgical, high-leverage knowledge base for your revisor GPT. No document swamp, only sources and tools that measurably improve revision quality. Awesome! Each item includes 1, its irreplaceable purpose, good, 2, a link, and 3, the 4 criterion scores. I've also added how to distill instructions for everything we'll create ourselves, followed by a ready-to-paste system prompt knowledge base section. Perfect! That's exactly what we want. Self-editing for fiction writers, a book. Interesting. The Artful Edit, book architecture. Stein on writing. Yeah, we saw him in prompt 1. That you'll see that quite often. The same masterminds that we find on prompt 1 are usually going to come up in some way or another in the knowledge base blueprint. So that's good to see. For now, we are just going to put all these together. Okay, perfect. We have got our final system prompt here. Now, before I show you how to plug it in and do all the other stuff to build a custom GPT, we need to actually shorten this because the maximum length for a custom GPT system prompt is 8,000 characters, and a system prompt that is built this way is almost always more than that. So we'll go to dictate down here. This system prompt is over the 8,000 character limit for building custom GPTs. Can you shorten it to under 8,000 characters while retaining its effectiveness? Focus your summarization on sections that are auxiliary to its core functions, such as the role and task section, the notes section, things like that. Perfect. Dictate is really nice. AI isn't great right now at getting the word counts for things just because it thinks in only one direction, which means simply that it can't check its work as it goes. It kind of just generates it in one run. That's also why earlier models hallucinated a lot, is because they couldn't fact check as they generated the words. So when you ask it to generate text that is within a certain word budget or character budget, it's often going to undershoot that or overshoot that by quite a bit, depending on the nature of the task. It's a lot more precise when it's going back and checking pre-existing work. So in this example, when we have something that's too long and we're just saying, hey, it's too long, can you make it shorter? It can go through with a fine-tooth comb because the text is already generated and say, oh, it's exactly this many characters long. I need to cut exactly this many characters in order to fit the budget. So it's a lot more precise second pass. That being said, let's go ahead and copy this bit. And now we are going to chatgpt.com. All right, and this is where the fun begins. This is where we're actually going to build our GPT. You can see over in Explore in the GPTs section, this is the GPT Store. If you decide to publish your custom GPTs here, then other people will be able to use them and look them up. In this case, we're going to go to Create up in the top right. This feature will only be available if you are on the Plus plan or above. That's $20 a month. Hit Create, and now you're going to see two different ways that you can build your custom GPT. If you go to Create over here, then you can just chat with this just like ChatGPT, and it is going to autofill all this stuff to build your custom GPT as you'd like. That's certainly something you can do. It's gotten better in recent versions, which is awesome, but I still prefer a bit more of a custom approach, and so we're going to be doing this. Novel Team 3 Revision. Revises novels of varied genre, varied target audience. Okay, perfect. Now, this is like the thing you want to use when you're building your custom GPT. This is where all its core instructions are going to be. What it should do, what it should not do, everything that is core to what this GPT is and what it does needs to be in here. So we're going to hit Control Paste. It looks like it's still too long. Can you shorten it a bit more while retaining its effectiveness in as many areas as you can? Especially focus on peripheral sections such as the notes in order to save word count while preserving the effectiveness in its core tasks. Dictate's really nice. It uses OpenAI's in-house speech-to-text model, which is a lot more accurate than most speech-to-text models that I have used personally. Like on my phone, I use like the Samsung keyboard default one, and it's just horrendous. It puts periods just randomly in the sentence. Sometimes I'll even like say the sentence faster just so that it doesn't put a period in the middle, and it still does, just all the time. And if you're pronouncing like the name of a person or a place or something important, you can basically guarantee that the Samsung speech-to-text model is gonna get it wrong. OpenAI's Whisper is much better. Okay, looks like that just finished up. Let's go ahead and grab our new system prompt, empty the instruction box. It's still too long. Can you try summarizing it again? Look at that. It put a ... in my prompt where the pause was. Oh, that's priceless. I hope ChatGPT doesn't think I'm being passive aggressive. That could turn out not well for me. Okay, compress this quite a bit in the role and task part. Oh, notes is still really long. I think all it's compressing is the role and task part, because that's what I asked it to compress. But it does work. It absolutely works. Nations.com. Alright, okay. Looks good. Now, if you want conversation starters, those are quite handy for folks who are building for clients or otherwise marketing their custom GPTs. So I would say, here's the first chapter of X, review it. I don't know. And when you click it, that becomes a prompt in the conversation. This can be really handy if you are... Oh, look at that! Fast context. Oh, so I can just like copy and paste this into my reply and just fill in the blanks. And then the custom GPT will... Okay, I really like that. Okay, sorry, back to the point. If you want to have these sort of buttons, I really like that custom GPTs give you this functionality, because that gives you a real nice way of showing off the capabilities of your custom GPT. I don't typically use them just because I mostly only build custom GPTs for myself, but it's absolutely something you can do and something I recommend if you're doing it for other people. Knowledge, this is where you are going to upload your files. So when we start building the knowledge base, that's gonna be where it goes. Recommended model, this was much more useful a couple of months ago before ChatGPT basically got rid of their model selector. Now it just has 5 thinking, and 4.0 because they kept that around for some reason. I don't know. I always just set it to 5, honestly, because that defaults to 5 auto. And something really nice about 5 auto is that it can decide for itself whether it should think harder to give you a better answer, or whether it should just, say something now, which is really handy for those low intellect sort of creative tasks where hallucinations are actually kind of a good thing. It's not perfectly able to adapt. There've been times for me that I used GPT-5 Auto with a certain question and it would, hallucinate a wrong answer right away. But when I forced the thinking model, then it would think longer and give me a correct answer. So it's not perfect at deciding when it should or shouldn't think longer. But I am really glad OpenAI is introducing that. I think that really lowers the barrier to entry for using ChatGPT. Capabilities kind of decides what your custom GPT can do if you hit the plus button over here when you're using it. So that's handy. And then actions, if you want to create an action for your custom GPT to do, that's pretty handy if you want it to interface with external apps to do other stuff. Not really something to do a lot with. It's quite technical, but again, absolutely something you can use and something I recommend if it's good for your use case. And the top 3 things up here I kind of just glossed over real quick because they don't actually change how your custom GPT functions at all. Is its name, its description, and it's photo. You can upload a custom one, or my favorite, you can use DALL-E. Just have it put something in there for you, which can be quite fun. It looks like it doesn't want to. That just happens sometimes with this hardware specifically. It can tend to freak out under heavy loads, like when it's running OBS. So we're just gonna go ahead and hit create. Now there's 3 different options for how you can share the GPT. If it's only for you, awesome. If you want anyone with a link, then when you save it, you'll actually get a link that you can copy and share with other people to use. And same if you publish it to the GPT Store. In fact, you can even pick a category that it's gonna live under, which is nice. I typically do only me, but I will open it to anyone with a link if I want to invite people to use it. And there we have it. We can view our GPT now. Novel Team 3 revision. And we are ready to go ahead and get started revising our novels. This is exciting, guys. We are gearing up. But that's going to be it for today's tutorial. In the next video, I'm going to be using this custom GPT to revise my first chapter. So stick around for that. And of course, if you are interested in mastering AI or having me build a custom automation for your business, feel free to hit the link below and set up a free one-on-one call with me to discover the possibilities. And with that, be sure to leave a like, share your thoughts with the class, and before you subscribe, make sure you know what you're doing, because it ain't easy being at the top. We'll see you guys next time.
Black fin cutting through the blazing rain. Thunder rolling, but I ride the wave again. Deep tide rising, hear the echo call.